I've called you back for a continuation of this juvenile court hearing and to give you my decision. I am sending you to the state training school. Jimmy, how long you are there depends on you and on the school. Miss Smith, you'll get to see your son again before he leaves. Make out the necessary papers, Miss Annie. It's pretty discouraging sometimes. Maybe the training school will be the answer for this boy. I just don't know.
Judge, it's too bad we couldn't get to that young man sooner.
But we certainly tried when we did get to him. I hope it wasn't too late.
So do I. By the way, I ran into James Thompson and Walter Jones the other day. You remember those two boys you saw in youth court about a year ago?
Oh, yes. How are they getting along?
Just fine. I think they're going to be all right. See you later.
But those were just little boys Miss Langle was talking. People just don't realize how important it is to get to work on these young people at the very first sign of trouble. I think those little boys were only about 10 years old. I remember one of the youngsters was little Walter Jones. He was the kind of a boy my old dad would call hard brought up and a little thought of.
You live here, Sonny?
Yeah.
What you whittling? Your mother home?
No. She don't live here no more.
Who does stay here?
My grandma.
She home?
No, she works.
Well, give this to whoever does live here when they get home.
The other boy was young James Thompson. He came from a comfortable home, economically secure. But James, too, had his problems.
22, 24, 38, Mike. What's the matter? Yeah! Come on, play ball! Get him, will
You mustn't play so hard, dear. Why, you're all wet with perspiration. Why don't you come on home?
Gee, how'd you catch him?
Golly, I don't know. I guess I just tackled him.
Boy, you're swell. Wish you was on my team.
What you gonna do with your fro?
Gonna take him home, cut his legs off, and eat him. What you got there?
Oh, these just some crickets.
Got a light for your bike?
No, my folks don't like me going out at night.
If you had a light, we could catch a lot of fish bait like that.
It's getting late. I better be going home.
Wait, I know a place we might sell those crickets. I'll go with you.
Okay.
Station.
Oh, just some cigarettes, small tools, and a flashlight. A prowl car picked him up just down the road from the service station. Oh, pretty young, Judge. Just 10 years old. One of them is young Jamie Thompson.
Jam Thompson's boy? Well, I'll declare. Who's the other boy?
The other boy, his name is Walter Jones. His mother?
No, I'm his grandmother.
No, it's his grandmother with him. Just take him on back to number 2 cell block, Jim.
Your men did a nice job, Tom, picking those boys up so quickly.
Well, thank you, Judge. The reason I called you is because I know you always make the decisions on what to do with these young boys. Mr. Thompson just came in. How's that? Yes, sir, their first offense.
Remand them to the custody of their parents until I can arrange a court hearing. Tell them a child welfare worker will call on them. It'll probably be Joyce Lingle.
Well, I'll tell them, Judge.
I need a full report on both families. We've got to find out what's behind this sort of thing.
The judge says it'd be all right for the boys to go with you until he can arrange to have a hearing. And by the way, a child welfare worker will probably call on you.
I expected a certain amount of tension at the Thompson home. met James on my way in. It was quite evident that he was in disgrace. I learned later that the other boy was Carl, James' older brother. I was to see a good deal of him, too. Miss Thompson was expecting me. Inside the house, the atmosphere was equally chilly. She talked about her early American furniture, her hobby, before she could get around to the purpose of my visit. I know this must be pretty hard on you, Miss Thompson, but really it's not such an unusual thing.
But why our family? I try to be a good mother.
I'm sure you do, but perhaps we can find a reason for James' difficulties. That's why the judge wanted me to come out and talk with you.
James is different from Carl. I sometimes think there's something wrong, well, emotionally. He's not a strong child. I remember the night this thing happened. We were all at the supper table except Jamie. He was nearly an hour late. His father's a stickler for being on time. I think he would have punished Jamie, but I saw that the child's feet were sopping wet. I don't know where he'd been in all that mud. I had his favorite dessert, but he didn't touch it. Mr. Thompson said to me, "Why don't you let the child grow up? He thinks I baby Jamie." Can you imagine him growing up with pneumonia? I remember Carl had a date that night, and my husband, as usual, had to go back to his office. James wanted to go out too, but I said no. He had to do his homework. He's so disorganized. Mr. Thompson found Jamie's baseball mitt lying on the hall floor. He's not neat like Carl, and he wastes so much time with those little models. His father and I have to keep after him all the time. Mr. Thompson seems to feel it's all my responsibility. I do think his teacher gives him too much homework. It keeps him all nervous and jumpy, and he worries about it. But when I looked in on him, he seemed to have settled down to it. His father doesn't think I should help Jamie with his lesson. He says Jamie must learn some self-reliance. It seems that Jamie had forgotten his spelling book. He asked me if he could go use Terry Smith's. Of course, we don't allow him to run around at night, but the Smiths are very nice people and live just down the block. I never laid eyes on that child until that night at the police station.
You mean Walter, the little Jones boy?
I suppose you know his people? Well, they don't look like our kind. And I found out that they live in a very poor section of town.
Yes, it was a poor section of town. Not unfamiliar to Joyce Lingle, however. Her work takes her to all kinds of homes. Still, she wondered what she would find here.
do the best I can for Walter, Miss Lingle.
I know you do, Miss Canby. It must be pretty hard with your working.
Catching those tables down at the cafe. Some nights I don't get home till after 12 o'clock. That boy could be all over town, and I wouldn't know where he was.
How long have you been looking after Walter?
Ever since his mother took sick and went to the TB hospital.
Well, what about his father? Don't you get any help from him? I mean, doesn't he ever send any money or anything?
Huh. From Will Jones, not a cent. He ran off and left Sarah when she first got sick. He drinks, Miss Lingle. Never was much good. And I'm afraid Walter takes after him a lot.
Do you ever hear from the father?
Just one time. He came by here and brought that old helmet for Walter. I wanted to throw it out, but Walter just about had a fit.
A boy does need his father.
Well, it's more than I can manage. The doctor says my poor old heart just won't take much more of this.
I'm sure we can work something out to help you, Miss Canby, if we just know a little more about your situation.
Lord knows I've tried. Like I told you, I work. But every evening, I fix Walter his supper before I go. Well, the night this thing happened, I had his supper ready for him. He knows I have to get to the cafe by 6. I don't know where that boy was. I don't like to leave until he gets home. He wouldn't say where he'd been, just around. Well, I couldn't wait to question him.
Now working as script girl for Jefferson Tamblyn. Tamblyn, as you know, is the head of Allerton Films, for which Helen Martin has the job of chief scenario writer. Today, Sherry is to see Jefferson Tamblyn to ask him what she has done to anger him. For in the midst of one of her most rewarding pictures, in the making at the moment, she has suddenly been switched to an unimportant
So two newfound friends from different parts of town got together and got into trouble. When the day of the hearing came, Joyce Lingle had done a good job in getting me the background material on these boys and their families. I knew these parents must be very concerned about what was going to happen to their children, that they were looking to us for help. The newspapers were writing about what they called a juvenile crime wave. This couldn't happen to their children. It must be someone else's fault. That's how they felt. In the course of the hearing, I got an idea of how the boys themselves felt about this thing. I let everyone have their say. James had been given every advantage, Thompson said. Walter was from good people on his mother's side, Miss Canby said. But these parents still didn't realize how much they and the pressures on them were responsible for their children's trouble. I knew they would have to understand this before we could help get the boys straightened out. I had this in mind when I gave my decision. In view of the extreme youth of these boys, and because this is their first offense, this court has decided to extend its temporary order, placing these boys in the custody of their parents. With this provision, however, Miss Lingle, our child welfare worker, whose professional training and experience fits her for the assignment, will continue to supervise these cases until the order is withdrawn. She may talk with the boys or with you parents. She may ask you to come to her office, or she may visit you in your home, or she may talk with the boys' teachers. Of course, this whole business will be handled in a confidential manner. She will work with you to get at the bottom of the trouble and to straighten this thing out. That will be all for today. Sorry to throw a curveball your way, Joyce.
That's all right, Judge. That's what we're here for, to help out in cases like these.
These boys are really going to need some help, and so are their parents.
Well, I guess it'll take quite some time before we can really accomplish anything.
You know, we have no youth counselor in this court, so...
So I go to work.
That's fine, Joyce.
Good night, Judge.
Thank you. Good night.
Before I bring you up to date on those two little boys who broke in the service station, there were a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about.
All right.
You remember that neglect case that was reported last week?
Yes, how'd that come out?
Well, I found those two children all by themselves and really in a mess. After I got them cleaned up a bit, I found the neighbor who reported it to take care of them while I went and found the mother who works. We were able to get them in a day nursery. And that unmarried mother who was in such a state, we were able to get her into a maternity home. She had a fine baby, and we're making plans now for its adoption through a private agency. Oh, yes, remember the little crippled boy? Well, I took him by to be fitted with braces by the Crippled Children's Service. Their doctors are looking after him, and they think he's getting on fine.
Well, by the way, I heard some very nice comments about that speech you made before the PTA the other day.
Well, it still scares me a little bit every time I have to get up and talk. But they were all so interested in exceptional children. I think they're going to start a class because they really seem to recognize the need for it.
Miss Poindexter's here and wants to see you.
All right, I'll be right out. She's one of our best foster mothers. I wish we had a dozen like her.
Say, what about using her home for Walter?
That would be a good place. I'll talk to Judge about it today.
Well, good morning, Miss Poindexter.
Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Just fine. We just were shopping and came by because we wanted you to see Leroy's new shoes this morning.
Well, fine.
Well, that's a mighty good-looking shoe, Leroy. Do they feel all right?
They're fine.
You can still play in your old ones, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
These will be your Sunday shoes.
Miss Lingle, we must be going on. Lawrence is waiting for us in the pickup. But Leroy just had to come by and show you his shoes.
I want to come out and talk to you sometime soon about another child.
Okay, I'll be expecting you. Come, Leroy.
Bye-bye.
I'm due over at Judge Andrews' office. I better run.
We'll see you later.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Joyce. Won't you have a seat?
Thank you.
What's new about the boys this morning? What do the physical examinations show?
Well, they both seem to be in pretty good physical shape, Judge. Oh, they could use some dental work, both of them. The Thompsons' family doctor didn't find anything wrong with James, in spite of all his mother's fears.
He's been wetting the bed a good deal lately. The doctor examined him and couldn't find any physical basis for this. He said it could be caused by anxiety.
Well, that's interesting.
I also talked with James' teacher. She doesn't think that he's a bad boy. He just isn't showing any interest in his work.
For example, when she corrected one of his papers, he just seemed indifferent. He never made any effort to improve. With so many pupils in her 4th grade, it was impossible for the teacher to concentrate very much on one child. She said she would welcome some expert advice. The teacher was glad to know that we were getting a psychological test on James by our staff psychologist. I tried to make James feel at ease, and perhaps I helped. I've been seeing quite a bit of him lately. At any rate, he did quite well, as you can see from my report.
I think his teacher was surprised, and I know his family were relieved to know he has average intelligence.
And now about the other boy. I gather from your report that Walter's situation at home is not working out any too well.
No, it isn't. His grandmother doesn't seem to understand what Walter really needs. And besides, she has no time to supervise him.
I presume we're expecting too much of the old lady, and she isn't well either. You and I spoke on the telephone about the possibility of a foster home for Walter. Do you have a suitable one available?
I think we have a good one. But it would be quite a shock to his mother if she didn't understand the move.
Well, don't you think it would be a good idea to go out to the hospital and talk the thing over with his mother?
Yes, I believe I can do that tomorrow.
Walter and I talked things over on our trip to the hospital. We stopped off on the way to pick up a present for his mother. We wanted to get him a haircut, too, but we didn't have time to do both. I knew Walter felt shy about seeing his mother the first time since he'd gotten in this trouble. Of course, Mrs. Jones knew about the affair. The doctor was very glad I had brought Walter to see his mother. It seems that she'd been worrying a good deal about him. He thought our foster home plan for Walter would relieve a lot of her anxiety. He said that even after she went home, Miss Jones shouldn't work for a while. It was good to see them at ease again, even though Walter couldn't get too close to her. The doctor took Walter off to get a Coke, and I explained our plan to Mrs. Jones. Naturally, she was worried at first, but then she realized this was only a temporary arrangement until she could get on her feet again. I told her how much we all liked Walter and that we would still bring him to the hospital to visit her. As I talked about the foster home, I began making plans in my own mind how we could use church groups, public health nursing, or homemakers, and perhaps even an Aid for Dependent Children's grant to help Mrs. Jones later on in reestablishing her own home.
Glad you came by, Miss Lingle. I think Walter's getting along just fine now. Of course, we do have some problems with him. I've raised 8 children of my own, but each child is a separate individual.
You're right about that, but I bet you could handle every one of them.
We had kind of a rough spot with Walter the other day. He wanted to ride that old horse of ours. And Mr. Poindexter had told him that he might ride him on the pasture, but not on the road because the horse doesn't have any shoes on. Walter didn't wait for any explanation. He just heard the "you can't."
You try to stop me, I'll leave. I'll go back home.
I steered Walter over to a tree and said, "You just kick that old tree and get it out of your system." I said, "When you get tired of kicking, then I'll give you some loving." Walter is improving splendidly now. He hasn't had any more temper tantrums. He and Mr. Poindexter are great friends. In fact, they're out here in the yard now. I'm sure he wants to see you.
In the months that followed, I continued to visit Walter and take him to see his mother in the hospital. But I probably spent more time with James and his family. James needed the same feeling of being wanted, the same assurance of approval that Walter was finding at the foster home. Little by little, the family was beginning to accept James as a person. And with their acceptance, he became more acceptable.
We're so grateful to you, Miss Lingle. James Sr. is a different person with James. You know, at first, I was almost jealous of you. You seemed to have such a way with Jamie. But you brought us so much closer together.
So Mr. Thompson seemed pleased with the way things are going, eh, Joyce?
Yes, he said he thought Mrs. Thompson had improved so much. She isn't babying Jamie anymore. And you know, Judge, he even asked about Walter. Wanted to know how he was getting along and seemed to want to help in some way.
Well, I know a little about that. I ran into Mr. Thompson at our luncheon club the other day. Seems they organized a little fishing expedition. You know, Thompson rather fancies himself as a fisherman. But fishing wasn't the only object of this expedition. The going would be tough for these boys in the years ahead. Growing up is never easy. But I could withdraw my court order now that they had guidance from understanding grown-ups. Backing the boys, too, were responsive community groups. Thanks to them, and in a large measure to Joyce Lingle, child welfare worker, these two boys were on the right road to good citizenship in a democratic society.
You say there are 2 children? How old are they? Yes, I'll be right out.